when I should have left myself alone. But I couldn't have, oh no, I couldn't have. I always open my gut when I shouldn't have, oh no, I shouldn't have.
Okay, so you're writing a book. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Fun process, as you know.
What's it going to be about?
So the premise is really leadership lessons that I've learned, and obviously some of the things from a growth mindset and just some of the things that I've seen from a high level and elite sport work for players, for coaches, for me personally, and some of the incredible lessons that I've been able to learn from obviously some high achievers. And not only that, but some of the people that I've been fortunate to come into contact with. When you look at the businessmen and women that I've been able to meet and some of the things just through being a part of the NFL and obviously working at an elite sport, it's amazing because I firmly believe you can take knowledge from anyone you come into contact with, whether they're, a CEO of a Fortune 100 company, all the way down to somebody who works at a high school. I've learned valuable lessons from so many people. And I think for me, it's trying to give back a little bit from some of those lessons learned selfishly.
Mate, I love it. And I think we have a really unique position, right? Working with athletes, because they look to us for the knowledge, and we can usually, fingers crossed, give them a snippet, but they teach us so much by just being themselves, whether that's on the field, whether that's in the fucking weight room, or whether that's just the interaction of like, well, I've got all this stimuli, adversity, I got to juggle all these things, then bloody family gets involved when you get into the pro sport. And it's like, well, we learn so much from them that it's only right that we give everything back.
100%. And I think selfishly, when you take knowledge, because you hit it on the head, Alex, where we learn more from the players probably than they do from us, because you watch the struggles they go through when you consistently do tough things, which is what professional sports is. You learn grit, you learn how to overcome adversity, and inevitably in life, we're going to hit the same things. So as we do that, it's a microcosm of life, and some of the lessons that I've learned, the best that I apply to my family life and my children and things like that, are things that I've learned from players that I've had. So I absolutely couldn't agree more.
What were you trying to find when you were working with these athletes, with these players? Were you trying to find like a golden nugget? You're like, aha, I got it. I got the key that unlocks all doors. Or were you just trying to navigate with each individual person?
My end goal, honestly, is I have a relentless passion to get 1% out of everyone that I come into contact with, including myself. Like, how can you sharpen those tools? And when you're dealing with an elite level athlete who's the best in the world at what they do, when you can turn them on to a 1% improvement, that's dramatic and that's life-changing. That's the difference between championships, second and third contracts, hundreds of millions of dollars of income. That stuff, if that doesn't get you motivated, there's something wrong with you. So when I look at it, the goal is to hopefully impact and impart knowledge, but also just get 1% better and trying to draw that out of people. And sometimes figuring out the why, like what's the burn behind them? What's the motivating factor of why they want? Is it money? Is it to take care of their family, their grandparents, their mother, their father, and buy them a home? Cool. I'm going to draw into that. So I'm going to build into that why and whatever your burn is, because I'm going to draw upon that consistently when you do hit the hard times and we're, hey, I know you don't feel like doing this today. Here's why we're going to do it. We're going to buy mom a house next year. Let's go. Get on the track and let's go to work.
Where does your drive come from?
Similar place. For me, once again, if I get to the end of the day and I didn't maximize my opportunities, if I screwed up something, number one, taking extreme ownership and saying I fucked that up, like that's on me. I got to get better. But number two, seeing that for other people and knowing that I can have a positive impact. What greater benefit is there in life, whether it's teaching my children a lesson that will hopefully help them down the line in years to come, or an athlete or a business person that I've come into contact with or consulted with? If you can draw out someone and become a better version of yourself, that's what motivates me every day, because we're never a finished product. You got to be a lifelong learner. You have to be.
Oh, for sure, man. Like, I remember learning to drive, right? My mum used to say, you only start learning how to drive once you pass your test. right? Because
No
you
doubt.
you start interacting with the roads and the drivers and the pedestrians and all that type of crazy stuff. And you're like, well, okay, cool. And I feel like it's similar when we get out of academics. You've got out of mainstream institutions, let's call it, and you're like, okay, here's the real world. Good luck.
No
I
doubt.
think I think you
Yes.
start learning there, right? You got all these things around you. Fuck, I got to figure out this, and you got to pay tax, and you got to do. But, but what do you need to learn? You need to learn people, and it's the social skills and the street smarts a little bit more than the book smarts. And I find it addictive
Mm-hmm.
because there's
I would
always
agree with
something
that.
that you can learn from, right?
No doubt. And it crosses over into everything you do. Like you said, paying taxes, like how does strength training tie? Well, you know what? Because there's uncomfortable parts to paying taxes and being detailed and making sure that you're organized enough and you're keeping track of certain things. So for me, there's crossover lessons, like your point. The academic world is clinical. Like, hey,
Mm.
here's a problem. How would you work? Don't just talk to me. Let me get into that problem because there's context there. It doesn't matter what a textbook tells me. When I get into the situation, I'm dealing with emotional people, including myself. Then there's deeper context. What worked in the textbook might not work in this exact situation. So being able to be adaptable and fluidity, and then having an urgent mindset to go attack problems, I think that's the true separator. When I look at it between high achievers, I think it's those people that live by a default urgency, a mentality where they're like, hey, man, whatever happens, I'm just going to take the next step forward because the next step is the most important. And then I build momentum. And then I'm taking active steps towards whatever the problem solving needs to take place. As long as you're urgent, and obviously don't rush into things, but you got to be urgent in your action. When there's inaction, how do you expect anything to change?
For sure. Doing nothing quite often is the worst thing that you could actually do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, doing something that isn't, in fact, correct is better because you learn from
No
it.
doubt.
And you're like, oh shit, I'm on the wrong road. Let me just back up a little bit. Let me hop over to the other highway. It's like, no,
Yep.
just do something, man. And movement creates momentum at the end of the day. And you
Yes.
end up with that movement, even if it's menial, let's go blue collar.
Mm-hmm.
Just go to fucking work and hammer nails for Christ's sake. All right, you've done that. And guess what? Pew! Next thing you know, you get this thought come up. Einstein got the theory of relativity working in the bloody post office. Why?
Yep.
Because it's just like menial stuff. Like we're just getting through the day to day by movement. We're with these physical creatures, bound to a meat sack. Let's just move around a little bit. Let's actually go do some work. Sometimes we've got to turn the brain off, and then the light bulb comes back on for us.
There's no
In
doubt.
action,
But when
man.
there's inaction, there's no learning. Yeah,
In
I
action,
mean,
man. Yeah.
you got to love failure too. I think that's something in life. You're going to fail. If you don't fail, you never took any risks. And I think people are so frightened and so paralyzed by the fear of failure. When you're paralyzed by that fear of failure, you're never going to attack success. I would much rather fail 10,000 times on my way to a huge success than stay back and maybe play it the safe way and say, well, I never took any risks or any chances. What kind of life is that if we're all trying to achieve great things and become better versions of ourselves?
Mm. You mentioned the word emotion. How do you deal with the emotions of players?
Mm. That's the question we're still trying to find an answer to because I still have not met two players that are identical.
Yeah.
So once again, I love the word context. When you dig down deeper, and for me, it starts two places. Number one, I have to build trust, and I have to do that through vulnerability. So as I build those bridges and I build the relationships, then that trust eventually leads into that player trusting me more and then us developing that tighter bond. Once you have that, then I can get back into that. Hey, what's your why? What are your motivations? Why do you want to do this? You want to be famous? You want to be rich? Whatever it is, that's okay. We're going
Yeah.
to lean into that though. So dealing with the emotions, it draws back into that why. Whatever your burn is, it's deeper than a just here's why I do this. It's a burn. It's why you wake up in the morning and that little tick that gets you motivated when you're having a really bad day. And you remember that. So being able to tie into that, I love that aspect of it. And that's the human psychology of trying to figure out the motivations of people and why they do certain things. And that's all tied into emotions. I think the thing that's helped me too is when I love zoomability. I say this, you got to have a telescope in one hand and you have to have a microscope in another hand. When I'm able to detach and zoom out with a telescopic view, give me 30,000 foot view from above, I can see the situation and try to remove my emotions. When I'm in it, when I'm standing in the weeds, I'm emotional. I'm reacting because based on your body language or whoever I'm interacting with, I'm going to feel a certain way and I'm going to react based on that. So as I can kind of push that out and zoom out, try to take my emotions out of it, that allows me to come with a clearer head, maintain that blue, that neutral state, so that I can make a better decision where it's not tied into the emotions. And then hopefully I can draw that understanding into the player or into the person and say, hey, you're looking at this, try to zoom out, try to detach from the situation. Let's look at this a different way.
I love that analogy of a telescope in one hand and a microscope in another.
It's
That's
huge.
really hit
It's
a
great.
note, man.
Yeah, I think, hey, zoom in and zoom out. And it's people always say you have to have this balance. Life isn't a balance. Life is an integration of work, family. It's all these things combined into one. I look at that as the same way. A telescope and a microscope, I'm literally figuratively always think about carrying both because there's going to be time I have to integrate both rapidly. I'm
Yeah.
zooming out really fast and I'm zooming right back in if it's in the middle of a training session or we're managing whatever 90 players and I got to make critical decisions up to the minute. I got to be able to zoom out and look at the global team, but then I got to zoom in and look at that individual player. And that's true in life and business and sales, all these other corporations that I've been in. It's true everywhere. If you maintain that ability to zoom in and zoom out, that zoom ability, you will 1000% be a more effective leader, be a more effective person, and you're probably going to make less emotional decisions that will lead to irrational, sometimes bad results.
Especially when we're working with athletes, right?
Mm.
Oh,
No
yeah.
doubt.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think balance is a series of unbalanced times that when you zoom out, it actually looks a little bit more linear, but
Yep.
if you get a little into the weeds, it's not balanced. Day-to-day is not balanced. Over a lifetime, fingers crossed. Yeah, we
Yep.
can do that. Charlie Chaplin saying if you zoom in, life looks like a tragedy, but if you zoom out, it looks like a comedy.
100%. Yep. I love that one.
And
So
it's
true.
I think a little lighthearted, yeah, but we need to get off our case sometimes and be like, actually,
Mhm.
it's okay. It's one day, it's just a day. Tomorrow we're gonna get back out and we're gonna start slinging dick again and give it our best shot. Zoom in
Zoom
and
out.
zoom out, telescope and a
Mhm.
microscope.
That's it. Carry
I
both.
like
You got to have
like
them.
that a lot, man.
Appreciate it.
You mentioned another thing, extreme ownership.
Mhm.
I love how that's come to the forefront because I believe that, first of all, I believe that we can learn a lot from athletes and we can relate
Love it.
it to, we call it GPP in health and fitness scene, right? But fucking everyday folk that even don't even work out, we can
Yep.
we can relate it to everybody. Athletes are human beings too. They're just exceptionally good with something, whether it's a ball, whether it's physicality, whether it's lifting things, whatever it is, they're pretty frigging good at it. Extreme ownership, it is brought to the forefront of accountability. And I think it's what we're lacking, mate. I really fucking do. People, oh, well, such and such did it. And I just followed the trend. And I don't know about you, mate, but sometimes I sit back and I just observe people. Mate, it's getting scary. It is getting
Yep.
scary, the amount of lack of accountability of just, okay, let me just kind of get it on autopilot, turn it off, close my eyes, and follow the leader. Where do we start,
Yeah. And
mate?
it comes back to trying to become a better version of yourself. I firmly believe that because when you throw accountability out the window, you're honestly not, you can't tell me and look at yourself critically in the mirror at the end of the day. You can't tell me that you're trying to become the best version of yourself. And ultimately, my goal, I want to become a better father, a better Christian, a better husband, a better everything that I do. I want to be better at that. That's my goal for tomorrow. Do I always achieve? No, I make mistakes. We all make mistakes. When I do, though, that up. I messed this up, and here's how I'm going to fix it because that's the next most important part. True accountability comes with action. I can stand up there and say, I screwed this up, I messed this up, but true accountability is tied into action because then that's the next step. I screwed this up, and this is how I'm going to fix it. And then don't tell me, show me. Then I have to show you with my actions of how I'm actually going to fix that. So accountability to me is everything. And when I look at it, there's a dichotomy between giving yourself grace and giving yourself forgiveness, because that's something I've personally struggled with because I'm so hard on myself. You can never be hard enough on me because I'll always be harder on myself. And I think that's good for a lot of things. Sometimes that gets in my own way, but for me, having grace. But then I looked at this and I started thinking about this, and this is going to be part of the book. I think repetitious grace through the same mistakes, that's enablement. So if I make the same mistake 7 days in a row, that's on, I got to fix that action. That shouldn't happen 2 days in a row, let alone 7. So if you're a person, you're trying to start working out, or you're trying to start exercising, and you've skipped your workout 3 days in a row, that's on you. You have to make it. It's not important enough to you if you're still displaying those actions where you're making excuses. You have to take accountability, but that urgent action has to come through your disciplines, your daily deposits of working out, reading, whatever it is, sharpening your mind and your body. Those daily deposits are the action that will lead to your long-term success and your legacy. So if you're not doing that on a daily basis, then don't tell me you believe in accountability, because your actions speak very different than your words.
What do you mean by grace?
So grit to me is it's perseverance versus persistence.
Oh, I mean
Persistence.
grace. Sorry, lad.
Oh,
Grit.
grace, forgiveness, basically forgiveness. So when you look at it, giving yourself, hey, I screwed up, not being so hard on myself that I'm actually going to go into a deeper hole because I'm going to try to overcorrect. It's understanding you screwed this up. You're a human. That's okay. Get past it. But then I have to match it into that action. If I just say you're forgiven and I give it day after day after day, that's not matching my actions. My actions have to show what the accountability actually is.
I like that way of putting it, grace. I'm very much the same when it comes, you hear, oh, sorry, coach, sorry, whatever. Don't be fucking sorry. Just change it.
Yep.
Just do something about it, man. Like, because at the end of the day, it's going to be you in the casket. It's going to be you staring you in the mirror, brushing your teeth every morning. It's like if you don't like what stares back at you, you can change that. You can actually go out and do something. You can actually
100%.
do it. Everything is a choice. I think everybody believes that they're in those special bracelets. I've got these handcuffs on and I can't change my life. Well, you can. You actually can. And I think back to these things, taking fitness and coaching people is like having a fucking bunch of kids, right?
No doubt.
You're teaching life through the medium of fitness, even if they're like, 60 years of age. It's like, oh God, why are you doing this dumb shit again? Like, how about we think about it this way, and we, how's your back doing, and how's your family, and all that type of stuff. But I think back to me dad growing up, and he said, there's no such thing as can't. And he would fucking repeat it till the cows come home, mate. There's no such thing as can't.
No.
And, I'd try, you'd fail. Okay, great. But there's no such thing as can't. You just get back up and again, keep swinging the bat, keep digging holes. And I think back to it now and I'm like, you know what? Maybe that's what we're missing of the art and the wisdom is in the trying.
Yep.
The outcome is kind of inevitable, whatever. We fail, we succeed, we get it, we don't, whatever. But the actual thing that we're trying to learn and need to learn is in the act of trying. And then maybe we've got to try in a different way. But there's nothing you learn, mate. You fucking learn.
You learn through the trying. It's the process. When people come with these huge goals, I love huge goals, but if your goal is only tied into the outcome's probably not going to ever occur.
Yeah.
Your goals should be tied into the process of what you're talking about. It's the action. It's doing it on a day-to-day basis. So if you're setting goals, don't say, I want to lose 20 pounds or I want to put on 15 pounds of muscle. Set your goal that you're not going to miss a workout this week, and then go into the minute details of each day. Here's how I'm going to structure my strength training. Here's how I'm going to structure my nutrition. Put your goals into the process and don't skip a day. Get up when your alarm clock goes off. That's the first win of the day. That drives me crazy when these people have huge goals, but then you can't wake up on time. You hit snooze 5 times. You just lost 5 times in a row. Get up. I call it the toe test. Get your feet on the ground as fast as humanly possible. I guarantee you're not going to lay back down and go to sleep and hit snooze. Get up and then take that first step forward. That's the most important part. So for me, making it all about the process and then those little wins, when you get those and stack those consistently, by the end of the day, you're going to look back and be like, oh, that's why the outcome came to fruition, because I put the process into play and I took care of it every single day consistently.
I couldn't agree more. And you're building the foundation rather than trying to race to the finish line, right? It's like build it
Yes.
as wide and as strong as you can. Build it on the rock, not the sand.
Yes.
You know, and I like to think about it as an art form, you know, like kind of abstract art. There is no rules. You can get there anyhow. And you're like, okay, well, that means you kind of become obsessed with the process of like, well, what am I going to do today? And how am I going to do it even better? And you become a little bit of a Van Gogh. You know, you lose your mind in the process. And I think that's what we're supposed to do, you know, because our interaction with our occupation, I think, isn't just for I'm going to give you this paper and then you can go pay your utility bills. You know, it's like, no, it's going to further your understanding with your own self as well. And then also the craft that you wanted to pursue, whether that's trying to get 1% out of people, whether that's trying to fucking get 1% out of people purely physically, whether that's accounting, whatever it is, right? It's this interaction. And if we focus a little bit more on that, we have a little bit more attention on that, I think where we'll end up will be so much better. But this is just me just kind of talking out my ass. We're just figuring out on the fly. You know, I'm a blonde guy that teaches fitness. It could be anywhere to Sunday here, mate, you know, but I think more people need to allow themselves to step out of the box and just figure it out. We are stronger than we think. We are more malleable than we think. You know, move countries, change career, whatever. But just like, oh, I've always done it this way. Try it a different way.
Right.
Because that might actually teach you the magic. And we just get
about yourself.
100%. You learn it about yourself. And we get the privilege because we have to deal with people and those people change and their experience to this point has changed. And that's taught us to do that.
For sure. I like that. The abstract art, I'm definitely going to steal that, because I think a fundamental quality of most people that I know that have done really phenomenal things, have achieved greatness, they're curious by nature. And it's probably the same thing with you, Alex. When I go into it, I'm not trying to do exactly what I did yesterday. Even if it worked, great. I'm going to build off of that foundation, to your point. But then my curiosity gets in. I'm like, well, how can we do it better? All right. Well, this piece of technology has really helped us. Awesome. How can we leverage that information even better? And then how can we combine it with another piece of technology to give us an even better outcome? That curiosity in the back of your mind, I think all great high achievers have that, because you're never satisfied. And once again, giving yourself grace, this is what I struggle with. Being happy, you got to find happiness, and you got to go. One of my good friends, Ryan Hawk, always talks about go through life like you're in a museum, not rushing through an airport. When you're in a museum, you're going to see some cool pieces of art, and you're going to be like, oh, I appreciate that. When you're in an airport, you're just trying to get to the friggin' gate as fast as possible so you don't miss your flight. So for me, having that mentality is really cool, but then having curiosity to ask follow-up questions. That piece of artwork's really cool. How'd they come up with that? How could you change that? What are some other avenues you could go down? I think curiosity leads us to really great results too.
Being in a museum, not an airport. Fuck, that's another one that's blown my mind.
Yep. When you think about that, we all go through life like an airport, man. I know I do a lot. I do way too often.
You blink and you're like, how are we at Thursday?
Yep.
You know, it's like, what time is it? 7 p.m. How did we get here? It's like we live so much of our life on autopilot, which has got us through a lot of things, granted. And there's times that we got to be able to do that. We need that ability.
Yep.
But yeah, the curiosity. I had a conversation a while back, and the guest turned around and said, "Be curious" is the thing that they would tell the younger self. Like, be curious, huh? And it's stuck with me for like a year and a half now, year and a half, 2 years, and I'm like, oh, ask more questions.
Yes.
You know, the wise ask questions, the arrogant only answer.
I like that. Yep.
You know, just
true.
I don't know, man. The only thing I know is I know nothing, you know, and you might have, okay, you got a slight prejudice. We all do, because you're going to judge what you see or judge what you hear. But if, you know, the law of five whys, right? You ask why 5 times in a row, you get to the real answer. If you just actually ask them, I don't know, what do you think? Oh, I think this. You're like, oh, that sounds like a good idea, and then you actually interact with the individual in front of you. And I think we're all going through the airport a little too much, too fast. And we also interact with other human beings like that. Like we're trying to rush past each other in the airport to get on the plane first, which we're all going to take off at the same friggin' time anyway.
No doubt. Can't change the plane unless you're the pilot. No. And I think asking yourself questions too, because I try to give myself prompts. I'll try to do it monthly, but I asked similar to what that other guest said was, be curious if you could tell her. I go back to my younger self and I try to bring humor into it. I ask myself every month, number one, what's one thing I've done over the last month that my younger self would laugh at me for, make fun of me for? Because I do a lot of stupid shit still. We all do. And then I try to flip it, give yourself a pat on the back. What's one thing I've done over the last month that my younger self would be proud of me for? And then build on that foundation, because I think we can all ask better questions, but sometimes we have to ask ourselves better questions, because we'll try to lie to ourselves. It's impossible to do, but it takes deep reflective thought and real questions to be like, why did I do that? Why did I make that decision? Or why did this happen? And really keep pounding down and getting to the answer. You can't get away from yourself. So you might as well get comfortable asking yourself some of those questions.
What's your favorite question to ask?
For others or for myself?
For yourself.
For myself, I like doing this practice where it's once a month, where I reflect on what did I do that was so stupid my younger self would literally make fun of me. And then what's another thing I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool, man. I volunteered, or I did this really cool deed and this was awesome, and finding that prideful moment. But I love asking people about the same thing. I like asking, if I was asking someone else, number one, why do you do what you do? And actually giving them time to think about that. I would encourage everyone to write that down too. Why are you a fitness coach? Why are you a performance coach? Why are you in finance and sales? Write down why you do what you do. When you actually give yourself deep reflective thought, it's amazing what comes out on that paper. I've done it, and it's a really good exercise. So I love finding that out and having people challenging them to really truly answer that question, because that should be the foundation of you. That should be a big part of your life. So what was the motivating factor that led you into your career choice or your path or whatever you're doing?
I think you'd be surprised how little people know.
Yep.
Like for themselves, not just an answer of, oh, I was supposed to. Your parents said, me teacher, it sounded like a good idea.
Yep.
The money. Like, no. Intrinsic for you. What is the reason? I think you'd be surprised how little people actually know, which I find really scary.
Oh, they're too busy running through the airport, man. That's what we
Running through
talked
that
about.
airport, man. Take the train. You can see the trees.
I love that. There you go.
I got 3 questions.
Okay.
What's the greatest piece of life advice you've ever received?
I would almost say be curious, but since we were already talking about that, I would say this, and I've heard this from multiple people: shut up and do the work. Because at some point, once again, this goes back to one of my core values of being urgent. You got to shut up and do the work. At some point, no one's going to do it for you. No one's going to feel sorry for you. If you screwed up, you screwed up. Move past it, learn from it, take what you can pull from it, but you have to do the work. So default urgent, take one step and then take another step. Stop complaining. It's not going to get you anywhere. You just got to do the work.
There does come a point in time where the mouth needs to be closed, and you actually have to get it done.
That's it.
Yeah, don't talk about the things that you're going to do. Show the things that you've done.
That's it.
By doing
actions. Show me, don't tell me.
What was that thing you said? Accountability is nothing without action.
Oh, 100%. It's all about the action.
Yeah, don't apologize. Change it. What's the worst piece of life advice you've ever received?
Oh, man. You know what? And it's not a lot of people have said it, but the people that have, it pisses me off, to be honest. Don't bet on yourself, because I've heard that from people where they're like, just almost what we're talking about. Take the safe route. Take that safety net. Take that. Take another year on your deal. Don't bet on yourself. I think that's some stupid stuff, man, because for me, if you have any type of self-confidence, and you might fail, that's okay. Once again, we've talked about that a lot. When I do fail, bring it on, because I'm going to learn. If you're afraid to learn, you're afraid to fail, you're probably not going to achieve great things in life. So the people that tell you, don't the statistics of making it to the NFL or professional, whatever it is. Now, whether you make it there or not, great, but go try. If that's truly a passion of yours, go try. Like, what's it going to hurt? If you do, you're going to learn some valuable life lessons along the path that are going to help you do whatever you're going to do. And then you're going to go impact people for the rest of your life.
Oh, yeah. And you'll enter the workforce so much more prepared.
Yes.
So much more prepared. Like, just give it a shot, man. Why not? Why the fuck not? At least you can say, you know what? I tried.
Yep.
And it wasn't meant to be. All right, it wasn't meant to be. No problem. But you gave it a crack and you put your best foot forward. You're like, you know what? I am going to ride this thing till the wheels fall off. And sometimes they fall off. All right, man.
They do.
Now what we're going to do? Okay, we pivot. We do something else. But you've learned so much about yourself, man. So much. And yeah, okay, maybe not all in one basket and you flunk out of school. Okay, great. But even if you do, there is a way out. It's okay. You can always go back and you can get your qualifications. There's another way. You can do it. Just give yourself a shot, man.
There's always a way. Take the shot. Action. Just default urgent action, man. I would encourage everybody. Action. It's all about the action. That's life. You got to take action.
I got one more question. What are the 3 words you would tell your younger self?
Don't care so much, and this is a life lesson that's taken me a long time to figure out. I had a stroke a few years ago that helped me find some clarity in this, but don't care so much. And once again, the action is going to be there. You're going to have doubters. You're also going to have people patting you on the back. To be honest, both are bad if you have too much of them. People that tell you you're so great, that scares the shit out of me, because that's almost the biggest problem that I've ever encountered in sports or in life. When you're winning so much, then everyone gets really tight and you're like, oh, don't screw it up. When you start thinking with that mentality, you're not going to continue to attack the greatness through those details and through diving in and fixing the problems when they pop up. So I think that's number one, is don't be afraid. Don't care so much. Don't go in and be like, oh, they said that's emotion. Detach, zoom out. Once again, that zoom ability, zoom out. Try to remove yourself from the emotion. Don't care so much, because if one person has a negative opinion or 10 people, it doesn't matter. You could get crushed on social media, which we all live on nowadays. Who cares? At the end of the day, you are with yourself for the rest of your life. I loved your quote where, hey, it's going to be you in the coffin at the end of the day. So for me, trying to live for a eulogy instead of a resume, that's going to lead to a higher quality of life. So not caring so much is going to allow me to do that.
That is a beautiful way of putting it, man. Live for a eulogy, not a resume. That is a bloody beautiful way of putting it, man. I appreciate your time, man. This has been an honor and a fucking privilege. Thank you so much, man.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate what you're doing. Keep spreading the word. Keep making a difference, Alex.
Mate, you gotta let me know when this thing comes out. I want to read it.
I will. A couple months. Should be hopefully fall time. So get it out there.
Done. I'll let you know what I think.
Good, man. I love it. I appreciate it. Please do. Give me the real. I don't care. I need some feedback.
Dude, I'll be learning some things. I'm only blonde. Come on, it goes in one ear and it goes out the other. I gotta get my one brain cell fucking fired up with caffeine, and I can remember something. But I appreciate your time, man.
Love it.
And give my best to the family. We'll speak soon.
Same, brother. All right. See you, Alex. Have a good one.
Bye, everybody.